contract as he enters the final year of his rookie deal. And even though many headlines will be created about the future of Micah, it isn't a matter of if he gets a new deal from the Cowboys, but just as to when. And if history shows us anything, I would bet that Jerry Jones makes Micah wait until opening night to get a deal done, so the pregame show spends more time talking about the Cowboys than the Eagles when Philly celebrates another world championship with Dallas in the building on September 4th. I'm Zach Dell.
Do Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keep coming back? Tremfya guselkumab may help, with rapid remission achieved at 12 weeks and lasting clinical remission at 1 year. Some even saw visible improvement of their intestinal lining at 12 weeks and 1 year. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya. Approximately 3 out of 10 patients were in endoscopic remission at 1 year, based on areas visualized on colonoscopy, which may not represent the deeper bowel layer or entire GI tract. Individual results may vary. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit TremfyaRadio.com.
Savings are heating up, and so are the summer super deals at the used car superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. You don't need super strength to get approved for credit. Sheeler owns the finance company. Getting approved for credit is super easy on the Motor Mile with financing options for every budget. Sheeler makes car buying easy with the hottest brands all in one location. Cars, trucks, vans, SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. Over 900 used vehicles in stock now and ready to move. More than any other dealer in the area. Plus exceptional service, selection, and savings. Need some summer spending cash? Sheeler will buy your vehicle even if you don't buy from us. Plus super money for your trade. Volume selling means volume pricing. And we've got the volume with over 900 used vehicles in stock now. No games, no gimmicks. Just summer super deals at the used car superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. Your premier used car dealer. Locally owned for over 50 years. I-81 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
Your home is more than just walls and windows. It's where life happens. And at Right Choice Construction, we get that. We're not just builders. We're fathers, mothers, neighbors, just like you. And every nail and every beam reflects our commitment to creating a place you're proud to live in. With Right Choice Construction, you're choosing a team that's been perfecting the art of building for years. So build with us, build with experience, build with quality, build with Right Choice.
You're stepping into the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM and 1320 AM Lynchburg, or by asking Alexa or Google Home, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the Fast Lane with Ed Lane.
So the answer, of course, is yes. That's the payoff question and answer to start our Fast Lane here at the ACC Kickoff. The question is, do you want to hear something funny? And we'll just go ahead and answer the yes part, because why wouldn't you unless you're a stick in the mud? So earlier this afternoon, obviously earlier, before now, I had an interesting conversation with a couple of ladies that, for whatever reason, they picked me as the one to pull over and ask the question, what is the ACC? And then they stopped and said, we're here at a cosmetics convention, can't you tell? And I'm like, well, I don't know if I could tell, but thank you for clarifying it. So my initial reaction is to pause. Then I said, it's technically the Atlantic Coast Conference, which is a college sports conference. But it might as well just be called the All-Coast Conference, I added, because it does feature schools from Texas, and there's the Gulf of Mexico there, and then there's California schools. So we've got the Gulf of America / Mexico, depending on what you want to call it, and the Pacific Coast Conferences included in the Atlantic Coast Conference. So it was just a funny interaction, but it's one of those where, like, back in the day, people probably would have just known what it was. Yes, it's a cosmetics convention, which, you know, on a different note, speaks to the fact that there is such a wider world out there beyond just our sports scope here in the Fast Lane and on VTRN Sports. And yes, that's what's called the P1s, our primary listeners in media, but and I will credit Rewind 1039 Lynchburg's Classic Hits for this, because we'll do morning fast takes on that with different sports topics. But a lot of people, and we're grateful for everyone in our audience, but some people are familiar with us because of those, or because of the InsaneRadioDeals.com fast takes that we do on VTR and Sports, but also on Talk Radio 100.9 Lynchburg, 106.3 Gretna Southside, and 95.5 FM Bedford. And so it brings in a different audience, and we're blessed for that. And I'm blessed and thankful that our fearless leader, Gary, gives us the platform to be present on other shows. But it reminds us, these type of interactions today, that as much as I am nerding out at the ACC Kickoff with our VTR and Sports and Virginia Talk Radio Network colleague, Ty Tracy, there's just an entirely different world of people out there that sports is a much more casual part of their life and audience. And you can tell us whether we're doing a horrible job at this or a great job at this at Fastlane, edlane@gmail.com, or Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or 5-star reviews on Facebook Live, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. They're also appreciated. But, I'd like to think we are a little different, and so that's part of it. Now, one of the big themes of what we've discussed has been the direction of the conference. It's something that we will continue to discuss as well today in the Fast Lane. But one of the cool parts is there are still elements of bridging the past, and we're in a high school football rich area. I wouldn't call it Texas or Florida and Georgia in the hype in that level. But there are plenty of people that still care about that stuff. So why we bring that up is when we return in the Fast Lane, we're going to have two different chats. Dana Boyle of the ACC Network, yes, we'll ask her about lacrosse because she covers plenty of it. But we'll also ask Eric McLean, football analyst for the ACC Network, but very familiar with Clemson, having played there, about two former LCA Bulldogs. Gideon Davidson, who many expect to have a very large role. The super talented will be a true freshman running back. And then his teammate Easton Ware, who is unlikely to get a lot of playing time if things go the way the Tigers want this year. So we will pay off that tease when we return here in the Fast Lane, VTR and Sports app, and ask that smart speaker open VTR and Sports.
The savings are huge at the big summer sales event going on now at Magic City Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Bedford. Save up to $10,400 off MSRP on a new 2025 Ram 1500, or save up to $7,700 off MSRP on a new 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. Plus, we have over 230 incredible pre-owned vehicles in stock, marked with huge discounts. Don't miss our big summer sales event at Magic City Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Bedford, 1750 Independence Boulevard, MagicCityBedford.com.
The feel of the beach is perfect. Relaxing with family and friends. Bonding over memorable meals fresh from the seas. It's a beach experience, and it's in our backyard at 801 Raw Bar in downtown Lynchburg. They're family-owned and family-operated, bringing you that relaxing beach house vibe while you enjoy the freshest seafood from our region, including raw oysters, king crabs, and snow crab. Not really a seafood person? Try their fresh handcrafted burgers, subs, pizza, and salads. Step into the relaxing beach house vibe at 801 Raw Bar on Church Street in downtown Lynchburg.
Have you looked at your home's exterior lately? Do you see faded siding, paint peeling, and wood rotting? Windows that are impossible to open and close, and gutters falling off? Call Collins Siding and Windows to transform your home's exterior and save you money on energy costs. Dreaming of a new porch or sunroom? Collins can do that too. Since 1989, Collins Siding and Windows has been transforming homes in Central Virginia. Roofs, windows, siding, gutters, porches, decks, and sunrooms. They can do it all. Call Collins Siding and Windows today, 434-525-6307.
Warm weather means traveling. Hi, I'm Randy Trost from Trost Law with a couple of safety reminders. Always wear your seatbelt. Don't drive distracted or impaired. And remember, it's better to safely arrive a little later than being in an auto accident. Those things can make a big difference between a fun family trip or a painful alternative. At Trost Law, I hope you never need our services, but if you do, we're here to help you at 777-HURT or trostlaw.com.
Some journeys start small, with small pause and big purpose.
Look how little fly, you sweet girl.
Every great partnership begins with the first step.
Yeah, let's go.
Guiding them through the world so one day they can guide someone through life. With shared experience, confidence grows, and the path becomes clear. It takes time, patience, and love. But the reward lasts a lifetime.
Good girl, Bob.
You don't just raise a puppy. You raise a future. Become a Dogs Inc. puppy raiser. Give a dog a purpose. Give someone hope.
Learn more at dogsinc.org.
Once there was a man who couldn't stand.
A mom who couldn't wait.
A scientific community that said it couldn't be done.
And then you.
And then I.
And then we brought neuromuscular disease into screaming color with the Muscular Dystrophy Association.
For 75 years, our voices have thundered through the halls of Congress.
We've willed the impossible into existence.
We've pushed the science,
raised the funds,
shifted the narrative,
and transformed the reality of life with neuromuscular diseases.
For 75 years, we've built communities together,
established the field of neuromuscular medicine,
and made it thrive.
Call that a legacy.
Call it impact.
Call it momentum.
Just call it ours.
Because it's the generations of community heroes that give MDA the strength we have today.
And until neuromuscular disease is a thing of the past, you couldn't stop us if you tried.
Join us and celebrate 75 years of breakthroughs at MDA75.org.
Are you tired of static? Wish you could take your favorite Virginia radio stations with you wherever you go? Then you need to discover the power of streaming. That's right. You can now easily listen to the Virginia Talk Radio Network for insightful discussions and local news.
From the VTRN News Center, I'm Bill Shafiro.
And groove to classic hits on Rewind 1039. All from your smartphone, tablet, or computer. No more fiddling with the dial. Just download your favorite radio app. Search for Virginia Talk Radio Network or Rewind 1039, and you're ready to go. Stay connected with your community.
Good morning. This is Kimberly McBroom in the WDBJ 7 Newsroom with our Virginia Talk Radio Network news update.
And enjoy the music you love, anytime, anywhere.
Every move you make.
Streaming the Virginia Talk Radio Network and Rewind 1039. It's that easy. Virginia Talk Radio Network, Rewind 1039. Now streaming.
VTRN Sports is presented by Downtown Cairo. Authentic Mediterranean and Egyptian food. Downtown Cairo, Grace Mill Shopping Center in Forest, and Business 29 in Madison Heights.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
What a way to continue our coverage of the Virginia Cavaliers and Virginia Tech Hokies from the ACC Kickoff here in Charlotte. We're chatting with a product of Charlottesville and UVA, Dana Boyle. And before we even get into all of that, you cover a ton of lacrosse for ESPN and the ACC Network. You did this past spring. You do now with the Premier Lacrosse League. I know there's an honor code at Virginia, but we won't tell if you're plagiarizing off Quint Kesenick and Paul Arcatera. That being Virginia Lacrosse. We count on them at the Virginia Talk Radio Network to give us tons of great content, and it never materialized during the month of May as postseason was just not happening. What in the world happened with Coach Tiffany and the squad up at UVA this year?
Your guess is as good as mine. I do think, in all seriousness, they had some injuries to some really impactful young players that we didn't see take the field. And if you lose Peyton Cormier and Connor Schellenberger, two names that are in the record books, not just in the NCAA, but also at UVA, it takes some time to replenish that talent. And so I think you're seeing a team in Virginia men's lacrosse that's growing, and they're going through some growing pains because of that. And so they're a little bit older this year, and so I expect them to make the postseason. That was an anomaly, but it happens. You see it in every sport, football, basketball. You lose generational type talent. It's really hard to replicate that from year to year. So that's maybe me being a little bit biased with the program, but I do think, losing Connor Schellenberger and Peyton Cormier really hurt them.
So you mentioned that as well. Your concern, is there a concern level from you for long-term, given that, we're a couple years now removed? I mean, it's only a couple years removed now from those, I guess we can call them back-to-back national championships. We'll just expunge 2020 from our memories.
I'm not concerned. I mean, the ACC is so competitive in men's and women's lacrosse that, to be able to have a quote-unquote down year, and if you really look at the games that they won and really the games that they lost, they were by such a close margin that I have no concerns about the lacrosse program, men's or women's, at the University of Virginia.
Dana Boyle of the ACC Network and ESPN with us here in the Fast Lane. Did plenty of coverage for lacrosse this past spring, which is why we started our chat with her, touching on UVA lacrosse, throwing her a bit of a curveball, if you will. We will get over to football now, and we'll start with UVA this year. Is this a make or break here for Tony Elliott?
I think the pressure is on for sure, given, the last 2 seasons. I had the opportunity to be part of their spring game and go to some of their practices because I live locally. And just in my conversations with Tony Elliott, the issues in the years past have been that competitive depth. Like, it's really hard to play when you don't have competitive depth, but think about how hard it is when you don't have the bodies to practice. So practice, you're supposed to get better, but if you don't have the people and the depth there, that becomes really challenging. And so speaking with him, he feels like for the first time going into spring ball, when I saw them, he really feels like they have that competitive depth to make them have a run in the ACC. And I think the pressure's on, and that's just from an outsider's perspective, and also like what we're hearing, in town.
So you're plugged into UVA. Charlottesville is, we'll call it your home. If that's erroneous, Dana, you can interject with us and correct us. But you mentioned pressure. Transformational gift is what it was termed. Then you just elaborated for us a moment ago on competitive depth for Virginia Cavalier football. What correlation is there in terms of, from your observations, but also from the feelings of the coaching staff, that they've got a better chance than they've ever had to build that competitive depth, starting with what they've done with 30-plus transfers this offseason?
That's what I was going to say. I mean, in those conversations that we had in the spring, the transfer portal window was just about to open, and Tony Elliott made it very clear that they have to hit the portal hard, and they needed bodies. They needed, that competitive depth that we mentioned. I mean, think about the D-line playmakers that Elliott's brought in. Kazim Moore, Daniel Rickard, like Tennessee Tech, Elon, UNLV, like they went in the portal and they hit it hard, and they had to because they needed to make up for some of the players that they lost.
Dana Boyle with us in the Fast Lane. You mentioned all of those pieces coming together. Again, you were at the spring game. You've been around the practice facility and have gotten some ears to the ground in Charlottesville. How close or far off are all these pieces from integrating into a way where it goes from looking good on paper to actually producing results against what many people actually believe from the outside is a relatively navigable slate?
Yeah, speaking with Tony Elliott, not many teams were doing spring ball. And he said, we don't have an option. Like, we need to practice. And so I think, to me, listening to him say that speaks volumes. They needed to practice. He thought the fans deserved it as well. And, getting to see like a Chandler Morris in real time, like that guy's a dude. Like, he is a unreal football player. He can run. His lateral movement, I was so impressed with his athleticism. Getting to see that with my own eyes, I was like, okay, we're going to be hopeful. And I guess I can say we now, but when I start covering it, it's Virginia. But
you're a product, though. So
I am. I'm a little bit biased. But players like a Chandler Morris, he made it very clear, like, I didn't come to Virginia as a Texas kid to not win an ACC title. So his goals are clear. Tony Elliott's goals are clear. And I think the whole team is sort of on the same rope in that way.
Dana Boyle, ACC Network with us in the Fast Lane. The other side of the Commonwealth features pressure as well at Virginia Tech. How much more elevated is it, given that last year they went in pretty heavily with NIL and financial commitments, and there were injuries, sure, but the results just weren't there with the 6-6 regular season?
We saw them, I believe, the last game of the season against Virginia, and they just look better, faster, stronger. And so I think that is a launching pad for them in fall camp. I think Brent Pry is a great coach. I think he's got a great staff around him. But again, to your point, the pressure's on.
For the overall portion, do you see them as a team to challenge in the ACC, or is there a large gap right now between Clemson, Miami, and then after that, pretty much everyone else?
I would say Clemson, Miami, throw a Louisville up there, throw an SMU. But as we've seen in years past, you have some of these teams that are at the bottom of the ACC that make a run mid-year. Like, think about Syracuse. Like, nobody thought that they were going to make the run that they did and push themselves in the top spot, one of the top spots in the ACC. So I've learned enough with this league, whether it's football, basketball, lacrosse, that it is in so many ways, any team, any day, and it's who's going to put the best product on the field. And sometimes you can have the best talent, but can that talent be competitive? And do you have the cohesion in your group? Like, do you have the locker room? Like, I think that makes a big difference. And nobody thought Syracuse would be where they were. And that's because of Fran Brown.
You mentioned all the ways things can go in the ACC.
It's nuts sometimes. Some of it doesn't make sense.
North Carolina may be the most intriguing wild card, especially nationally with Bill Belichick and the entire changeover and approach in Chapel Hill. Do you have an opinion on how this is going to go year one?
Growing up in New England, I have always been a Patriots fan. I didn't have a choice growing up in New Hampshire. And so obviously Bill Belichick is like on my Mount Rushmore. I just don't see a world in which he's not successful. And I don't know, you can define success in so many different ways, but who he's surrounded himself with from a coaching staff perspective, elite. He's elite. He's won multiple Super Bowls, and he values athletes. Like, he's getting lacrosse players to join his football team and vice versa. So he has to be successful. Now, the team that they open with TCU. Am I correct?
Correct. Monday night. Labor Day night.
That's not an easy game. But I just don't see a world in which he's not successful. It's Bill Belichick. And maybe I have a New England bias, but
I mean, he's one of the best football coaches of all time, so makes sense.
Interesting challenge, though. Like, going from, NFL to college is really different. And speaking to some of the coaches, it's relationship based. So is he able to develop those relationships with his players? Not to say you don't do that in the NFL, but kids really want to be coached in college.
Dana Boyle, ACC Network and ESPN, with us in the fast lane. Dana, thanks for handling the curveball and hitting a home run on some of the lacrosse analysis with us, and then shifting over to college football. Appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of it here in Charlotte at the ACC Kickoff.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We continue our look ahead. It's like a week-long festival of kicking off the football season. Have you ever heard that phrase, Eric McLean of the ACC Network, who joins us in the fast lane?
I don't think so, but I like it, and it's kind of like it is. It's like a big festival here that we're doing for the whole week.
I'm not smart enough to think of these things in advance, so it usually just comes, and I pray to God that it doesn't do something that's going to get me in trouble.
I think you're in a good spot. I think you're in a good spot.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, Eric. We're at the ACC Kickoff, and Clemson's certainly getting a lot of buzz. It didn't come to my attention. I'll ask for forgiveness since you're a former Clemson Tiger, about how loaded this team looks for this coming season. I knew the betting odds had them as the favorites, but I started seeing, because I'm a nerd like this, way too early 2026 mock drafts, like the last day of April, right after the 25 draft wrapped up. And like 7 or 8 Clemson Tigers are on that list. And it's big positions: quarterback, offensive line, defensive line. How head and shoulders is your alma mater above the rest of the ACC?
Yeah, they've got a chance to be, pretty significant, I think, of the country, right? Not just this conference. But you mentioned, just the ball players that they have. Obviously, it starts with Cade Klubnik, a guy who I think is the best quarterback in the entire country. What he brings to this team, the growth that we've seen from him, going through the valleys, but also the mountaintops. He handles it well. He's a guy that I think is ready to take even another step. And what does that look like for him is winning a national championship. That's why he came to Clemson. That's what he wants to accomplish, before he leaves. And then you look at, others that I think are the best at their position. Peter Woods, the best defensive tackle in college football. TJ Parker, the best defensive end in college football. That's pretty rare to have 3 number ones on your team. And then you look at the receiving core as a whole, statistically, production-wise, the best group coming back in all of college football. So I give total credit to Ohio State, what they do. Maybe you can say it about Ryan Williams at Alabama. It kind of fell off towards the end of the year, but those guys are the real deal. And I think that Clemson's offense is going to allow them, to really be as explosive as they want. And then you look at other parts of the defense with Avian Terrell and things that he brings to the table. It's going to be a solid group on both sides of the football.
A lot of people in our Virginia Talk Radio Network footprint, Eric McLean, ACC Network analyst, and let's get it out of the way, Clemson alum with us in the fast lane.
Whoops.
I mean, hey, it's okay
I forgot.
to disclose.
Sorry. Take
it's
all
okay.
that I said and just,
No. We're going to use that because
right.
a lot of
That's
our
right.
audience are familiar with Gideon Davidson from
Monster
his time.
ball player.
I've seen him 3 years.
Wow.
Tell me where you fit on the scouting report and where I'm wrong. For a freshman, it's actually the patience as a running back to let the hole open up, and then obviously the God-given traits to burst through the hole. That's what jumped out to me. There's talk he may be not just a player, but an impact player as a freshman at Clemson. Is that premature?
No, I don't think there's any question he could end up being the starter. Now, I don't know if it's going to be week 1, against LSU, but maybe it will be, with the things that, he can provide from a home run ability, from a big play ability, but also as a receiver. I mean, I saw in the spring game, this guy had 3 or 4 catches that I'm kind of looking like, that looked different for a running back, to be able to do that. And the guy that they split out and ran routes from, they did that with Travis Etienne as a senior. They're doing that as a true freshman, his first spring as an early enrollee. So, I think, as you mentioned, the talent is unequivocally there. How much of the offense can he comprehend? How much of the pass blocking can he, take and how can he execute it? But at the end of the day, you have a quarterback that should be in his final form knowledge-wise and be able to help him at any point if he needs that for a young freshman, and a very good veteran offensive line. So I think he's going to be a weapon for this Clemson Tiger team year 1.
For a long time, there was the Eric McLean years where Clemson had this dominant offensive line. Then there were the non-EMAC years where it was kind of wishy-washy. I mean, it's the presence that you bring to the offensive line. There's now a lot of hype around this offensive line, and they were part of those early NFL mock drafts. We asked that question because Easton Ware was Gideon Davidson's teammate at Liberty Christian Academy, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of pressure on him to have to come in and contribute right away. What does that say about him, but more importantly, where this Clemson offensive line is?
Well, it's an absolute blessing for him that he can develop, get bigger, get stronger, get smarter, and then once he is fully ready to go, be that guy. And because Clemson is a great situation right now with the talent they have, the cohesion. I mean, these guys have played like 160 games together. I mean, that's a lot of football that they've been able to do together. And when you see the snap count and guys that have played different positions, they're in a good spot from an offensive line perspective. Coach Matt Luke has come in and totally revitalized that position group, especially on the recruiting trail. You look at this recruiting class this year, I think they have 5 dudes that are 4-star or better that are huge. I mean, big guys that are going to be really good. So the offensive line, I think, is going to become a real mainstay for Clemson.
There's this idea, because Clemson has not accepted a high volume of transfers previously, they don't play that game. Correct me if I'm wrong, and we're in the NIL era, and now we chat with Eric McLean of the ACC Network, but he played for Clemson and is still tied into that program. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's not like Clemson doesn't or never has played the rev share of the NIL game. It's more theirs is identify the recruits and then pay them internally and kind of the retention as opposed to signing, I'll use this term, outside free agents.
Right. Well, yeah, they're fully diving in the revenue share there. I mean, they're going to be allocating a very large percent of that $20.5 million that has been deemed across the entire landscape of college athletics there. And we've heard Coach Sweeney say it. We've heard Athletic Director Graham Neff say it. It's going to be amongst the most in the entire country, which is a big deal. But you are correct. They are mostly, using that to reward and to pay the guys that have been there and the internal guys because they're such great players. It's a whole new ball game. And I think the biggest misconception on the transfer portal, which has obviously changed slightly because they took 3 really good players this year in the transfer portal, they didn't have room. They didn't have the opportunity to go out and get 10 guys in the portal because no one leaves. People stay at Clemson. They don't want to go somewhere else. And if they have, it's probably a little bit of a lesser player or a player that just wasn't going to get an opportunity quick enough because there was someone better in front of them. Now, they did lose Andrew Makuba, who was a great player, went to Texas and, won a bunch of games there and became a great draft pick. And you look at Bo Collins, who was a starting wide receiver, went to Notre Dame and was a national champion runner-up. But you look at who they had this year, I think you're good with what was on the field wearing the Tiger Paw.
So the other part to the evolution of college football, and we'll pivot off of Clemson, but there's been some local angles, so that's why we're cheating and going along on it with Eric McLean here in the fast lane. The other part to the evolution has been just the way with NIL and the way it's, I don't know if you call it totally transactional, but it's probably more than it's been. Bill Belichick coming to North Carolina, there's all the noise about what's going on in his personal life and off the field. Tell me if I'm off base. 10 to 15 years ago, that could have been a real issue because you're selling recruits in the environment. In this day and age, so much more is just what can you do for the player and athlete. That am I off base in thinking that a lot of the noise around North Carolina football, it seems like outside noise, but it may not impact the modern athlete?
Yeah, I don't know if it will. Again, the guy has won, 6 Super Bowls and played at or coached at the highest level. I think you're right. It would have been a much bigger deal a handful of years ago just because of the different ways that it is. But it is becoming a bit transactional. And, as much as you like or hate that, we are in a different space in college football.
Eric McLean with us in the fast lane. How do you expect year one to go in Chapel Hill?
Yeah, I'm not sure, man. I think there's a lot of unknowns, just because from a player personnel, they lost a lot. A lot of guys left. A lot of their key players, went somewhere else. So without having seen it at all, you don't really know what's going to be there. And, there's no question he's the greatest NFL coach ever. But this isn't the NFL. Tom Brady's not walking through those doors. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know how it's going to work. It is going to be a fascinating watch, and good or bad thing, the entire world gets to see it Monday night to start the year when TCU comes to town there. So I have to think that they will have a well-coached, disciplined team take the field, but is it good enough players-wise to win a bunch of ball games? I'm not sure.
I would probably get F grades in the sports media schools because I don't do a lot of rankings during the summer, but we'll give a ranking or a compare and contrast. That's what all the English class loved, Eric, and that being compare and contrast. Hot seats in year 4. Brent Pry at Virginia Tech and Virginia's Tony Elliott.
Yeah, it's funny. I did like 3 different shows in a row, and that came up in all 3 of them. I think that because of the expectation in Blacksburg, because of the hype that has been there and was not met, you probably say Virginia Tech and that there, and fair, not fair, it is what it is. But I will say this. I think that in a time that you're unbelievable. Thank you. I just got an Orange Bowl cookie. These are magical. They're rare. And if you don't have one, go get one. Leave this interview right. I'm just kidding. But going back to that, I think that in a world that is changing very quickly with athletes can go anywhere, whatever, you need that sustainability. You need that cohesion with staffs. I don't know if starting over right now is a good idea for either program, regardless. I mean, if you win 2 games, sure. I mean, let's go. Move on. But if there's fight, if you see improvement, if there's something to build upon, keep building. Don't start over.
How much more heightened is that given that there's new coordinators, offense and defense, and offensive line coach at Virginia Tech. And then Virginia, they're 30-plus transfers. So It's almost like both of them, it's year 4, but it's kind of like a year 1 feel.
It is, right? And it's bizarre to be able to do that. And you wish for, more things that you can build upon, grow upon. But that's the nature of this business. And part of that is trying to salvage what you can and change what you can, which both teams did so.
Eric McLean, ACC Network analyst with us here in the Fast Lane. Eric, appreciate your time touching on Clemson and giving us some in-depth hashtag inside info today on that, as well as our schools in the Commonwealth. Thank you for your time in the Fast Lane. It's always good to catch up with you.
Appreciate you, brother. Likewise.
Savings are heating up, and so are the summer super deals at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. You don't need super strength to get approved for credit. Sheeler owns the finance company. Getting approved for credit is super easy on the Motor Mile with financing options for every budget. Sheeler makes car buying easy with the hottest brands all in one location. Cars, trucks, vans, SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. Over 900 used vehicles in stock now and ready to move. More than any other dealer in the area. Plus exceptional service, selection, and savings. Need some summer spending cash? Sheeler will buy your vehicle even if you don't buy from us. Plus super money for your trade. Volume selling means volume pricing. And we've got the volume with over 900 used vehicles in stock now. No games, no gimmicks. Just summer super deals at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. Your premier used car dealer. Locally owned for over 50 years. I-81 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
Gorgeous blue waters, friendly people, the most beautiful island in the world. Getting to the Caribbean is hard, but experiencing it is easy at the Caribbean Jerk Pot. Oh yeah, come enjoy the best taste of the Caribbean with simples like jerk chicken and oxtail, authentic seasoned, hot, mild, spicy as you like. You can order from 1 to 7 p.m. weekdays on DoorDash or Grubhub, or browse the full menu at CaribbeanJerkPot.com and call us to spice up your private event at 434-426-4047. We'll come and bring the Caribbean taste to you.
This fall, Saturdays belong to the Hokies.
Oh, and these Hokie fans are going crazy here in College Town, USA.
Lane Stadium, electrifying, iconic, the best in college football.
Oh, you'd have to be here to believe it.
Built by tradition and fueled by passion.
Breaks free at the 10, to the 5, touchdown Tech.
Where every roar and every cheer brings you home. Are you ready to start jumping? Tickets on sale now. Visit Hokiesports.com.
Rain takes a toll on your house, including your chimney. Even when it's not raining, prolonged humidity impacts your chimney. Don't wait for the problem to enter your house. Call Black Goose Chimney Service. Featuring decades worth of experience, Black Goose Chimney Service will assess what your chimney needs and give you honest answers. Because the longer you wait, the worse it gets. Get ahead of the problem. Call Black Goose Chimney Service and visit blackgoose.net.
People ask all the time, who the heck is Low Cost Airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount supermarket for all airline tickets. Plus, we have all the airlines and always have the best prices. American, Delta, United, plus all the specialized international airlines and a lot more. And we make it easy. We guarantee you'll talk to a live human in 60 seconds. You can have the rate you need and have your trip booked in 5 minutes. Now, how cool is that? And remember, when you're talking to us, it's like talking to every single airline available with one fast phone call. All you need to do is call and find the best prices to fly wherever it is you want to go. So are you ready? Call Low Cost Airlines right now. 800-452-1278. 800-452-1278. 800-452-1278. That's 800-452-1278.
For over a century, AM radio has evolved to meet the needs of our community. More than 80 million listeners depend on AM radio each month. It's also the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping us safe in dangerous times. A new bill in Congress would ensure this free, reliable service remains in cars. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress to support the AM radio for every vehicle act.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Your next experience is awaiting you at InsaneRadioDeals.com. With summer heating up, these deals are only getting hotter. Check out great deals from Rise Up Climbing, 4-day passes to Floyd Fest 25 Aurora, Aquatrek Adventure Tri-Scuba classes, and much more. And of course, tickets to Lynchburg Hillcats, all at InsaneRadioDeals.com. Check out these deals before they run out. Summertime at InsaneRadioDeals.com. It's just heating up.
So this InsaneRadioDeals.com fast take comes your way from a now closed bank in honor of the Washington Commanders, who will probably save a little bit of bank with their extension that's going to be given out to wide receiver Terry McLaurin. Deserving of the extension, no doubt about it. But the deal the New York Jets gave Garrett Wilson, 4 years, $31 million per year, is a precedent setter that's probably below what McLaurin and his camp would have gotten and expected. Another favor from the Jets, who also helped the Commanders land quarterback Jaden Daniels a few years ago.
This fall, Saturdays belong to the Hokies.
Oh, and these Hokie fans are going crazy here in College Town, USA.
Lane Stadium, electrifying, iconic, the best in college football.
Oh, you'd have to be here to believe it.
Built by tradition and fueled by passion.
Breaks free at the 10, to the 5, touchdown Tech.
Where every roar and every cheer brings you home. Are you ready to start jumping? Tickets on sale now. Visit Hokiesports.com. Hi, this is Bill Roth, voice of Virginia Tech football. You're listening to The Fast Lane with Ed Lane and Trey Lyle. Join the chat at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
Looking ahead to the upcoming ACC football season, Aiden Kiana. Did I get it right?
Yes, you did. You did.
Okay. Is it Samoan? Is it... Well, give us the background on your name and on your last name in particular, because it's rather unique, especially to those of us on the East Coast that are not cultured very well.
No problem at all. It's definitely, yes, it's Polynesian, it's a Hawaiian background. My ancestors go back to the Big Island with King Kamehameha. Kiana Aina means surveyor of the land. They used to be basically like a lord for King Kamehameha. They operated on the Kona side of the Big Island.
So that part of it, and the Hawaiian roots. Similar, different to Samoa? Is there a rivalry there? I am I am an uneducated East Coaster
Of course.
who at least can admit that I don't know a lot about this, but I'm wholly fascinated by the culture and the fact that you guys have an amazing level of seemingly loyalty and connection to your roots.
Yeah, no, I think so. Polynesian is like the name of all of them, and within that you have different islands. So you have the Hawaiians, you have the Samoans, you have the Tongans. You go down to New Zealand with the Maori. You know, you have the Fijians. You know, there's there's a bunch of different islands that make up the Polynesians itself. You know, that Pacific Islander vibe. And one thing, you know, you can believe about every Polynesian is just family oriented. That's one of the biggest things in any culture is everything is centered around family. You know, everything the familial ties is the most important thing. And, you know, people ask me all the time, what are my values? And number one value is family. And I can show you that for majority of these other Polynesian guys there. You know, it's for us to represent our culture and our family, and the last name on our back it's a true honor. And, you know, I hope to do it as long as I can.
Aiden Kiana with us here in the fast lane, defensive lineman for the Cal Golden Bears, and taking us through some of his heritage as well as a Hawaiian and French Polynesian, and giving us a little bit of an educational moment here in the fast lane. For you as well, in looking at programs, loyalty, the desire to be part of that, how much is that something that is factored into you committing to Cal, staying at Cal, wanting to value that component not in a disparaging way, but in a way that is probably less the loyalty component valued in this day and age?
Yeah, no, I did my undergrad. I transferred to Cal on my later part of my career.
Sure, from Notre Dame.
Yeah. So I started at Notre Dame, and, you know, there's some older guys that stayed back, and there's opportunities where, you know, I could leave, but I'm a very loyal person. And one thing that was very important to me there was finishing my undergrad degree and graduating from that university. And so that's something I really wanted to do. And, you know, I also wanted to stay a part of that team as long as for that time. And so there was no talks of leaving until the moment that I did. And so I bring that same loyalty to Cal. You know, I came here to do a master's degree, to compete here, and I want to do that till the end of my eligibility, end of my career, college career, and hopefully move on to professional.
Some players prioritize the athletic situation, the monetary. Again, I'm not judging and disparaging, but it sounds to me from choosing Notre Dame and then choosing Cal to get a master's degree after the fact that education is something that is important to Aiden Kiana and to you and your family. Where am I right? Where am I wrong in that observation?
Oh, no, you're very true. You know, when I entered the portal, the most important things to me was number one spot was I wanted to go somewhere where I can compete. You know, I want to be on that field. I wanted to play football. You know, I wanted to compete for a starting position. And so that was the number one most important thing. I wanted to be able to go somewhere where I have an opportunity to compete for that position, compete to play, to get reps. And then the number two thing is, you know, I constantly in my life, you know, football can end. It can end in one play and one moment. And so a lot of people, you have to figure out what you want to do past football, you know, because not many people make it professional in NFL. It's just, you know, it's a sad fact. And so having that education to fall back upon, you know, with that undergrad and the master's from Cal, it's going to help set me up. And that's something that I truly feel blessed by. Football is giving me the opportunities. You know, I was able to earn a scholarship at Notre Dame and get my degree for free there, and then also do that here at Cal as well and get a free master's from there. And, you know, some of the top universities and education is going to really help with my resume moving. You know, if football isn't what in store for me in the future, I'm able to have those to fall back on and use those for other sense.
So for listeners who cannot see us, and we don't have this recorded, we're working through some technical stuff, so it's not at Fastlane, Ed Lane, or VTR and Sports on Facebook Live and YouTube. I was smirking as Aiden Kiana gave that reference, and the point is not mocking you. It's in the media profession, the idea of like, what's your 5-year plan? It's like you have to make it 5 years to have a 5-year plan. In the real world, that's not always the case. But for you, you mentioned plans post-football. 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And, I mean, 20 years, you might love to be playing football. You might be physically and mentally checked out and ready to move on.
Right.
How do you envision that playing out when you combine your Notre Dame undergrad, your Cal grad, the desire to play football, but the knowledge that it's not going to last forever.
Yeah, no, in my future aspirations, I think I want to play football on the NFL level. I want to go as long as I can, but I also understand that sometimes something happens or a situation is different and circumstances change, and so with having that education with those degrees, I'm able to fall back on something I want to do. And I was fortunate enough to figure out what I want to do in undergrad. I want to take my family's all involved in the medical field. Personally, don't want it to be a doctor, not someone that wants to do I'm fine with the outside pieces of a body, not the inside. I don't want to see the inside, but I do well with finance. I do good with numbers. I do good with people. I do good talking, and I also learned there's a business side of hospitals, and so like that hospital administration, and so like I did have a business background in undergrad from Notre Dame, and I'm getting that health background from Cal now, and so I'm able to use both of those to help me get into that field if necessary.
Aiden Kiana is with us here in the fast lane. Last year at Cal, this year as well. He'll be a fifth year. He's played at Notre Dame before Cal and giving us a background on his journey to this point. You're at Cal. We asked this at the Virginia Talk Radio Network. We're based in Lynchburg, 10 minutes from Liberty University. So now the light bulb might be going off on where we're going with this. You got a chance to, I'm sure, get to know TJ Bush and be familiar with him. What can you tell us? Give us your scouting report on having seen him at Liberty, practicing, and then obviously working out with him, getting ready for the upcoming season.
Oh, I think he's going to be a major contributor to our team. He's freakishly athletic. He brings things that we desperately need on this D-line. I think he has an amazing get-off, amazing pass rush. I think, he's going to be a constant threat on that third down, and I'm really excited to have him there. One of my really good friends that from last year, Xavier Carlton, he just moved on to his professional career, and so that was a big gap we needed filled. And I think some of the guys like TJ Bush that they brought in are going to do a great job of filling that role, but also bringing their own unique twist to it.
When you're getting to know a player like that, what do you do, Aiden, to get to know a TJ Bush and how he fits in your defensive line room, on your defensive line, and things that make him a viable transfer to Cal?
Yeah, of course. So we always have team meetings before the start of summer and, right when we get back after our May break. And one thing that Coach Wilcox emphasizes is, guys, we have a bunch of new guys on the team. We need to make them feel welcome. We need to bring them in. And that's something that I experienced as well, with being transferred here. Cal has an amazing culture in that locker room, and they do an amazing job bringing guys in and making them feel part of the team and getting them comfortable. And, I just want to continue that with these new guys. I want to invite them to hang out outside of football. I want to get to know them personally. And, it's been amazing to do that with all these new guys and just learning about TJ and his background, his family. It's just stuff that, you just want to build that lasting relationship with these guys.
Aiden Kiana building some time with us today into the fast lane. Aiden, thank you for your time. It's great to chat with you and connect. We'll be watching you. A lot of folks in our Lynchburg and Liberty audience will be watching to see how TJ Bush does at Cal. Thank you for sharing some of your story and your football and away from football story with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So the ruffling you hear, as we always like to tell you what's going on at the ACC Kickoff, the transition from defensive end Aiden Kiana from Cal to the general manager of the Cal Golden Bears, Ron Rivera. Back with us in the fast lane.
Yeah.
We had you on when you were with Westwood One last year as a football analyst. Now you're back into the game. Why the transition back into the real world of football, not just being like us talking heads?
Well, that's part of it. When I first retired as a player, I went to work for Sports Channel Chicago and WGN in Chicago, and it was covering football. It wasn't participating in football. That's why I got into coaching, because I loved the game. I missed the game. I wanted to get back into it. Thus, when I finished my coaching career, I get right into it with Westwood One, Sports USA, and the NFL Network. And it was really kind of the same thing. There's a competitive side that wants to get back into it. I was in the middle of the NFL hiring cycle when the opportunity to go back home to my alma mater came up. My wife and I had a very frank conversation about, the opportunities in front of us. And the one thing we decided was, let's go home. We've been on the road for so much, 36 years of my life as a football guy. I'd never been in the Bay Area other than to play or coach there. And so we decided, let's take that shot. Let's take that leap of faith. Let's go back home to our alma mater. We both graduated from Berkeley. and decided that's how we were going to do it. So we're back home. It's been a terrific transition so far. It's been different. This whole NIL thing makes this world completely different. But the biggest thing, and the thing that I think I really do appreciate more than anything else, though, is the opportunity to stay involved in the game.
So you referenced the NIL world being different. You've got experience in football.
Yep.
You played at Cal. You coached as a head coach and an assistant at different stops in the NFL. And then you had a chance to kind of get it from an overview away from the game as an analyst. What lessons have you taken? What thoughts have you taken from all those times that position you to be a GM now with the Cal Golden Bears?
Well, I think the first thing is just understanding about how to build the roster. Roster construction is a big part of it. How you use your salary cap is another part of it. But the reason I said that the world of the NIL is so different is that when you look at how it impacts the world, it's different as far as that's concerned, because the football world, you have only one opportunity to get free agents. You don't have these portals that open up and close up. It's a period of time. You get a chance to sign free agents, make deals, cut deals, bring these people in. And once they sign their contract, they can't just walk out. And if they walk out, they quit. They can't sign somewhere else. So in this NIL world, just because a guy has a contract doesn't mean he can't go into the portals and the next time it opens. So you're stuck with this type of situation where when portals open, your roster's got a chance to change dramatically.
What have you been able to do as a GM at Cal to try to navigate what's a multiple portal window world in which we live, and the fact that there's so much fluidity, as you mentioned, that does not exist in the more structured world of the NFL?
Well, the big thing for us more than anything else is what we have to do is we have to have a plan of action, and you've got to be prepared to move on or who to target and go after. One of the other things that's part of what I do is, and people have asked me, well, what's the most important job you have? Well, it is to help find and create the resources that our coaching staff, our players, our team, our head coach needs to be successful. Last season, this team was 6-6, and one of the things that we found that we could do for them is create opportunities by going out finding the resources so that we can do stuff for facility enhancements, for equipment, for sports medicine, for the NIL. Things that we see that are tangible that can make the positive impacts that we need.
Ron Rivera, Cal Golden Bears general manager, with us here in the Fast Lane, and you reference doing a lot of things for your athletes. Structure around this as well. There's talk about more of it with the house settlement and then the implementation of that. And then there's still the reality of you got 2 transfer portal windows.
Yep.
I don't know if you have one or not, and we'll open this up with more of a broad question. What opinion, if any, do you have on the concept of sticking with the current structure, maybe having 1 transfer portal window to make it easier? How would Ron Rivera answer if you were being advised on how to go about answering ways to make this more efficient for everyone?
Well, I would like to see it limited to 1 portal. I really do. And I'd like to see the same thing with the recruiting process from high school to college, because what happens is we've created too many circumstances where you're basically spending money against yourself. With 2 portals, you can sign a young person in January, and then in May, when it opens again, or at the end of May, it opens again. And kids that signed, student athletes that signed in January can turn around and sign again. And if somebody offers them more money, now you're competing against yourself. Do you want to spend that to retain the player? So what we've done is we've driven our costs up. Okay, and artificially, why? Because do you really should there really be 2 portals? The only people that really benefit beyond the student athlete are honestly the agents, and some of them are the ones that are creating this havoc as to where do we fit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and again, it's crazy. And then same thing with the recruiting process for high school kids. If you're recruiting a young person, you bring them in and let's say, for instance, they're going to be in the 2026 class. Well, you start recruiting them. They take an official visit in January, and they turn around and take an official visit in June. How many times do they have to come see you? You know what I'm saying? You know who they are as student athletes. So there really should be one primary period where you, in my opinion, where you bring them in and you really do the whole whining and dining and all that stuff as far as the family's concerned and trying to recruit them and have that's the period. Because what happens with, and again, if you get them to commit in June now for the next 6 months or 7 months, you've got to retain them. So you're constantly, staying in contact, constantly working it, constantly, trying to keep them from decommitting and going somewhere else. So you're spending more and more money. And we're going to find out very quickly that it's not sustainable financially to be able to do that as far as universities and colleges are concerned.
Ron Rivera, Cal Golden Bears, Berkeley, general manager with us here in the Fast Lane. Ron, part of that, just being on the same page and being connected with head coach Justin Wilcox, there's thoughts out there publicly. I don't pretend to know all that, and I'm certainly not in the office with you and Coach Wilcox regularly. How do you guys work together? What's the nature of y'all's relationship for being on the same page and guiding Cal football?
And that's exactly it. We're on the same page, and a lot of it's a collaborative effort, but I defer everything to him. Because for the sole reason and purposes, I don't want him looking over his shoulder. I don't want him thinking I'm here to take over anything. What I'm here to support his mission and his vision more than anything else. I want to know what he wants and how does he want it, and we'll make it work and fit to that. My job is to find and create the resources that he needs to do the things that he wants to do. Initially, when we first started spring, is the first time I've seen live action in a while. I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm itching to get in the middle of it. But then I realized and recognized my position, and that is to support coach. So he and I would go from one drill to the other. I'd be right behind him. We'd be talking back and forth. Every now and then, he might say something out loud between the two of us, and I would respond, and we'd have a conversation. And to me, probably the most gratifying thing that he has said to me about my role is we're watching, this is probably near the end of spring ball, we're watching practice and he's coaching and he's doing his thing and we're standing back there and he's interacting again, and he comes back and finally comes back and he looks at me and goes, "Thank you." I said, "Really? For what?" He goes, "Well, because I'm doing what I really love. I'm back to coaching. I don't have," which is true because I do the administrative portion of it. Okay, I try to put things in positions that are teed up for him so he can make the decisions he wants and we can go on and go forward. And that's what's important, is that he feels that his main purpose and function is to work with our players, coach our players, work with our coaches, coach our coaches to put the best product we can on the football field. All the administrative stuff, all the fundraising, all the glad handing, the shaking, the thanking, the being around the donors falls on me. He'll do his part when he needs to. Now he doesn't have to worry about doing it 2-3 times a week or daily. And I think takes a lot of the burden off him, and I'm glad to be able to do it, because the thing I want to see is him be successful, but I want to see him do it the way he wants to do it.
And the last one for you is Coach Ron Rivera is with us here in the Fast Lane. We call it you coach because that's what you used to do, but I guess technically you should say GM Ron Rivera.
No, I like the coach title. I'm used to it. I've been coach for 27 seasons.
Wonderful. Well, we will wrap it up on this. You mentioned being a coach. What advantage is that giving you to putting yourself in Justin Wilcox's shoes and understanding what Coach Wilcox would want and being able to say, here's how I'm going to lead that way accordingly?
That's exactly it. And that is more so than anything else is I have a feel for what he likes, what what he's going to want, so I can anticipate his needs. When he asks me a question, I can answer it from a position of experience. And I think that's something that's very valuable to him is I can talk to him unlike any of his coaches. And I think that's what helps him when he needs it.
Ron Rivera, Cal Golden Bears general manager, Berkeley is what we'll refer to it as, because that's what you did at the beginning of our chat today. Ron, thank you for joining us back in the Fast Lane. We're glad we could connect with you, albeit in a much different capacity than a few months ago.
I appreciate it. Thank you, man.
And that was Ron Rivera, Cal Golden Bears general manager. Before that, Aiden Kianaina, defensive end of Cal, and really worth getting him on, especially to get his assessment of TJ Bush, the Liberty transfer out to Cal. Good chats with both of them. If you missed that or anything else, Fast Lane, Ed Lane, where you listen to podcasts. I appreciate the time as well from the Virginia Cavaliers folks joining us today in the Fast Lane. We're back tomorrow, 5 to 6 p.m. VTR and Sports app, 93.3 FM at the ACC Kickoff. Thanks for listening to The Fast Lane on VTRN Sports, 93.3 FM, W227 BG Timberlake, and 1320 AM, WVGM Lynchburg.
The Sports Betting Network. Welcome to Make It Rain with Adam Shine on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.